Good morning, world. Welcome to a brand new music review show. My name is Jerry. I'll be your host. This is my special guest. This is a brand new show. We're really excited about it. Diskogs presents. We'll be talking about some of our favorite albums: Blood on the Tracks by Bob Dylan, and after that, Ozma by the Melvins. Yep. So, Blood on the Tracks.
Topical choice. Bob Dylan is big in the zeitgeist right now.
Timothy Chalamet is running for the Best Actor Oscar in this one. We've both seen the film. It's showing Bob Dylan to some people who might not have encountered his music before. Yeah. But anyway, the reason I picked this album is because in the film, it goes over his early career, and this is about 15 years into his career. And I thought ultimately maybe this would have been a better narrative to go with. You know, he's had his success in the 60s, self-portrait, which no one liked, and he got married. And this album is all about his divorce. So it's a very personal album. Yeah, it's interesting to hear some of the songs on this really, I think, capture some very true emotion.
Well, it's not a clearly personal narrative. You know, he dips into characters.
One of the first songs I ever heard of by Bob Dylan was Tangled Up in Blue. It's got some of my favorite songs of his ever, like Idiot Wind, You're a Big Girl Now. Maybe side one is a little stronger. Every song is great. I was just listening to Buckets of Rain, driving through the Connecticut outback.
Buckets of Rain is the one for me. Is it my turn to talk about Bob Dylan? Well, you know, it's funny to be like, oh, I discovered Tangled Up in Blue through Rock Band. I've experienced it through the exact same channels. Future generations aren't going to be discovering Bob Dylan through leafing through a record store. They're going to be discovering him through films, a song licensed in something. So it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just a natural. It's just part of the natural course of. You know, Tangled Up in Blue made a huge impression on me as a teenager, even not having any sense of who Bob Dylan was, not knowing that there was some kind of divorce narrative going on in the album. Just gentle living room quality. I mean, it feels very intimate to me. I mean, his just completely idiosyncratic voice. Like, what a weird fucking voice Bob Dylan has. You can't really say it enough times. And he sounds almost weirder than ever before. Like Idiot Wind, the way he's like, elongating his vowels. Please.
Yeah, I just had to butt in thinking about the title. What a strange and ominous title. It's got this blurry image. It's just great. It's so mysterious. He's got sunglasses on, and it's called Blood on the Tracks, and the blood of what? Perhaps his marriage.
You have to reckon. And, you know, it is funny because people always talk about this one as being the personal album, but the cover he seems much more obscured as compared to a lot of the other covers previously had like clear photographs. He's looking youthful. He's looking, you know, like you can see his gaze into the camera. So there's this weird thing where it's like I'm turning away from you, like I'm turning into my sadness. Yeah. Through the dark looking inward, you look out. That's great. Buckets of Rain is just like, it's so freaking good. Buckets of rain, buckets of tears, got all these buckets coming out of my ears. He does tend to be better, I think, lyrically when he's less wordy. Like a lot of the weird name dropping kind of alienates me. You know, like in Desolation Row, Juliet is there on the windowsill, and
yeah, when he's getting into the kind of the pop art style of the 60s, the Blind Commissioner, F. Scott Fitzgerald, like, yeah, who cares?
The best part of Desolation Row, he talks about all the characters, and at the end, he says, all these people that you mentioned, yes, I know them, they're quite lame. I had to rearrange their faces and give them all another name. He's telling you, the listener, that he's purposefully abstractified them to, like, either distance them from himself, to make them not real for himself. But, like, the only reason that song works for me is that acknowledgement at the end that says, like, actually this is personal, but I can't really tell you. People always talk about this dichotomy in his music between the personal and the abstract or whatever, but he talks about it in the songs themselves. That's what everyone's talking. It's what they're talking about in A Complete Unknown.
Back to my alternative film idea of Blood on the Tracks, Bob Dylan. It would have been just wonderful to see Timothy Chalamet or somebody else playing an older, more mature Bob Dylan. John Cusack. To kind of wrap things up on Blood on the Tracks, a fantastic album. Sure, you got to start with the 60s classic, but if you know you're a new fan and want to get into something real complex and a bit different, yeah, just an artist further on in his journey, then I highly recommend Blood on the Tracks.
I didn't know if I should pick something in a similar vein as Bob Dylan or try and go completely contrast style, but in the end I opted for contrast style because we're talking about the Melvins, Ozma. The cover looks a little small because I have like a dual vinyl.
I don't like the word vinyl. It's so pretentious, but you know, records are great. Back to Blood on the Track. I still have the price sticker on it, 10 New Zealand dollars. I got this at a record shop in Christchurch. It's a good pressing. Back to you.
This is Ozma by the Melvins. For people who don't know, the Melvins were a metal band that started in the 1980s in, oh God, I think Seattle or
Aberdeen.
That's right, it is Aberdeen. Yeah, so the Melvins are commonly associated with Nirvana, and they kind of get lumped in with like the big grunge wave because of it. The grunge label hasn't made a lot of sense to me. They were playing something that was almost completely uncategorizable. Many of the songs almost don't have a melody, even though they have notes and they have rhythm. The way the music functions is by like taking melody out so that all the focus of the song can be on rhythm. And they play completely unusual, odd rhythms that often don't repeat, or they repeat in like 5 variations before they ever go back to the beginning, that you have to listen to so many times just to like get a handle on how the songs function. Unlike Bob Dylan, where you know there's this like tantalizing voice that's sort of like speaking riddles at you like a sphinx. The Melvins, by contrast, just seem like, you know, pigs, like slobs, dudes. I mean, famously, the band name Melvins comes from someone, a coworker of the lead singer of the band at like a 7-Eleven or something. He said he worked with a guy named Melvin who was just like the biggest schlub in the world. But at the same time, the fact that that schlubbiness is paired with this kind of intense, I mean, it's intense musicality, all these rhythmic shit.
The schlubbiness of the name and like the approach to the music, like it's all these, you know, dirty guitars and drums and bass and kind of growls, then paired with the kind of inaccessibility of these time signatures and rhythms. It's an interesting conflict. The album I most listen to is the Houdini, which is more commercial. Yeah, a while ago you showed me Eggnog, which is like a 12-minute song. At first I was kind of like, oh, I can't dance to this. But then if you're just sitting still, or you know, standing in a dark warehouse, as the song progresses, you kind of anticipate all the drum hits and where the loop begins again. As you said, it's very like exciting and a rewarding listening experience.
Yeah, again, it's just like if a jazz band in their bow ties was doing all those time signatures, you'd roll your eyes. But like when it's being done by these like rough monsters, it somehow sheds its pretension.
Yeah, I was just reminded of they are Kiss fans.
Yeah.
And I don't think jazz musicians have affinity for Kiss. They also had all their solo albums, just like Kiss. Which I think is really cool. I haven't listened to them, but I do think it's really cool.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to bring up, just in contrast to Bob Dylan, is the lyrical angle, because There are lots of vocals on this and the other early Melvins albums, but a lot of them are characterized by actual just nonsense. I love this little lyric sheet that comes with it. If you can see how densely written it is, and like she's holding a cat. The woman holding the cat, it was the bass player at this time, and she, just random trivia, is Shirley Temple's daughter. If that matters to you.
That is all we have time for today, but I hope you've enjoyed the show. We'll be back next week with another episode of Diskogs Presents.